Hello there, people of the internet. This right here is original 6.5 Carcano round. This right here is a 268 diameter projectile, so it is the right size projectile. As a matter of fact, you know it's original, because if you look at the head of the bullet, the head stamping, you can see that it kind of looks like an old school can. Like, it's very unusual looking in comparison to the brass cases that we're used to seeing nowadays, and that's just the way that old ammo was made. So this is an original 6.5 Carcano round. Carcano, however it is you feel like pronouncing that. And this right here is an original 1891 long rifle. The year of production on this is 1900. Almost an antique, but not quite. So this one was actually not necessarily refurbished by me, but I cleaned it up, touched it up, got it looking nice and shiny and pretty, and it's definitely in way better shape than it was whenever I had first gotten it. It's far from perfect, and I didn't want to make it perfect. I wanted it to look cleaner than it was. But if we look here at the barrel, if I take this cartridge and I set it into the barrel to bore test this thing, normally this round would sit about right here and you would see plenty of bullets still in it if the barrel was not worn out. Well, this barrel has been shot out completely because it goes right down to the brass. This rifle has not been counterbored or anything like that. And even past that point, it's continued to be used because look at how loose this is in here. The amount of shooting it takes to get a rifle to that point is astronomical. So I'm sure somebody's going to say something about corrosive ammo down in the comments below. Yes, that does speed up the process, but not nearly as much as people think that it does. Whenever you are dealing with corrosive ammo inside of a gun and it wears out, you know, the bore of your gun, and you lose accuracy and you get keyholing, oftentimes it is because the barrel and the rifling have been worn in such a way to where as the expanding gases come out along the bullet, they are like pressing on one side of the bullet more than the other, and as a result it'll kind of push the bullet one direction or another and you lose stabilization. This right here is done from constant shooting, like non-stop. Like, that's a lot of ammo going down range levels of non-stop. So let me give you guys an example of this. I made a video not too long ago where I checked out one of my Mosin rifles. It was a Mosin Nagant 9130. It's the one I had growing up. And I stuck 40,000 plus rounds of ammo through that thing. You know, a tremendous amount of ammo through that thing. And I easily, like, this was back in the day when maybe you could get spam cans of ammunition for just pennies per shot, right? And I easily stuck over 100 spam cans through that rifle. And even after going through all those rounds through that rifle, I never bothered really cleaning that thing. I shot it so much I didn't really care about that. Even after going through all of that ammo, that corrosive ammo, shooting all of that, yes, the bore of the thing was worn out, and yes, the accuracy on it is not good, but it is nowhere near what some of these old military surplus rifles I've come across have reached. This thing right here, it's 1900, so it saw World War I, it saw World War II. This particular one came out of the Ethiopian batch, so it saw just untold hardships going through everything that it was going through. Like, there's no telling how many rounds fired out of this rifle. Now, there for a little while, I was actually working at RTI, and the amount of guns that we had come through that had just, like, blood rust on them, and they had bullet holes inside of them, and they were clearly heavily used in combat, and then set inside of a warehouse for, I don't know, a rainy day, I guess. But those guns were used so hard, and they've fired so many rounds through it to wear out a barrel to that point to where it just swallows your projectile is nuts. And if you don't think so, Here's another example. Actually, let me go grab that right now. I'll show you guys a good example here. So this is a Yugoslavian 2447. You guys have seen this on the channel plenty of times. I have shot, I don't know, 10,000 plus rounds of ammo through this thing at this point. And if you don't believe me, go back at the years of YouTube footage that I have of me shooting this gun. Like, this is one of my main go-to rifles for putting 8mm Mauser downrange. One, because it has a heavy firing pin spring inside the bolt. This way it sets off surplus cartridges fairly reliably. But two, it's also quite lightweight, quite handy, quite comfortable. It's just one of my favorite rifles, and this is the one that I take out, not just for recording purposes, but I take it out to just joy shoot it all the time. Like, whenever I go out to the gun range with my buddies, if I don't bring an 8mm Mauser with me of some kind, they think that something is wrong, and typically the 8mm Mauser I bring is this one. Now, I have shot, like I said, a tremendous amount of ammo through this thing, and I got years of YouTube footage to prove it, and even after all of that shooting, we still have a substantial amount of life left in this barrel. You can see how the bullet still has, I don't know, half a centimeter or so of bullet left sitting there inside of the barrel. And I've shot this thing so much, dude. Like, this is probably my most shot rifle besides my Mosin out of all of my guns. And that really says something. And this is a full power rifle, and I'm firing Turkish ammo through it. I got just thousands of rounds of Turkish 8mm Mauser, and that is the hottest 8mm Mauser I think that is out there. Normally, 8mm Mauser sends about 155 grain bullets at about 3,000 feet per second. That's a fairly heavy bullet moving fairly fast. Turkish ammo, the powder's degraded a bit, and it's been chronographed up to 3,200 feet per second, so it is just screaming out of there. And fast-moving bullets like that are one of the things that really wears out barrels. Like, if you look at fast-moving, especially small-bore rifles, typically they have lower barrel life, like, say, 6.5 Creedmoor. That has a fairly low barrel life in comparison to larger-bore, slower-moving rounds, like an AK in 7.62 x 39. You could stick 30,000-plus rounds through that barrel before you start to wear the thing out. So this one right here, I have, God, I honestly, I have no idea. I know back in the day when I can't say who it was, but there was a particular company who was selling 1,000 boxes, like 1,000 round boxes of Turkish ammo for like 25 cents a shot, and I just spent paycheck after paycheck on that stuff. And that's what I used on the YouTube channel, and like I said, I got the footage to prove it. Just me taking this thing out and shooting it a tremendous amount. And after all of that shooting, after the years of video production of me shooting this rifle, on top of just me going out and joy shooting this rifle, the barrel's not worn out. To wear out a barrel to the point of these military surplus guns is absolutely phenomenal. The amount of shooting that it takes to reach that point is nuts. Like, absolutely insane. We're talking several 100,000 rounds of ammunition. The people who are going in these different kinds of conflicts, especially with these bolt-action rifles, like, if you're having automatic, sending that much ammo downrange really wouldn't be that difficult. But a 6-shot bolt-action rifle, the amount of work that the soldier put into shooting that rifle that much to wear it out to the point to where it's worn out is a true testament to just how vicious that old warfare was. And that worn out Carcano, that's just one example. There's a tremendous amount of examples on this wall of rifles that have really worn out bores. This Lee Metford right here is a really good example. Also came from the Ethiopian cache. I got a Steyr M95 straight pull rifle back there that I refurbished a while back, also from Ethiopia. That one right there's got a really worn out bore. But then there's ones that are like old, that haven't seen a whole lot of hardship, that don't really have worn out bores. And this is a, if I set you right there, you're going to stay, you stay right there now, don't you go nowhere. This is a good example of one. Basically, all of your Swiss straight pull rifles tend to have really good bores because they weren't shot out. The Swiss never really got all that involved in any real major conflicts that required them to shoot a rifle to the point of wearing out the bore in the same means that a lot of these older milsurps are completely worn out and shot out. This right here is an old school 1889 Swiss straight pull rifle. So this is a good example of a really old Swiss straight pull rifle, but the bore on this thing is just immaculate and shiny. And basically, like I said, all of your Swiss straight pull guns are going to be that same way. I guess it all depends on where it is that the firearm comes from. I know that there's a lot of countries out there that are really good at keeping their firearms in pretty gosh darn good shape for just in case situations. Like, I know the British did really well with their Enfield rifles and whatnot. But even then, there's plenty of shot-out Enfields out there just from the sheer numbers of rounds that were being sent downrange. Again, corrosive ammo, I get it. It definitely increased the what would you call it? How quickly it increased how quickly that barrel's going to wear out. Yeah, I'm not saying that it didn't, but I am saying that it still takes, even with corrosive ammo, it still takes a tremendous amount of rounds going downrange. My 8mm Mauser right here, I fire surplus ammo through this thing all the time. It's corrosive, and you guys see how the barrel still looks in that. So I just wanted to go ahead and talk about, like, just how intense that warfare must have been back in the day whenever you are loading and shooting your bolt-action rifle so fiercely that you wear it out to that point. As a matter of fact, I have one of these. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Well, I'm not going to put in a tremendous amount of effort in that. But I got one of these Carcanos that I've made videos on before where the bore is so shot out that I took a 6.5 bullet and I dropped it in the front of the barrel and it went all the way down the barrel and came out the other end. It was to the point to where people were like, nah, that's impossible. You know, it must have been drilled down or something. But then I showed a bore test of the thing to show that those weren't drill marks. Those were dunes and valleys, which is indicative of a shot-out rifle. That entire barrel of that rifle was shot out because that rifle was just shot so much, dude. So, again, I wanted to talk about how many rounds it takes to go through a rifle in order to shoot it out like that. Especially these military surplus guns, which are designed to be able to handle tens of thousands of rounds before the barrel of the rifle, you know, gets worn out to the point of needing replaced. So, thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Let's all be glad that we're not living in that time era anymore. I guess I'll see you guys on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.